Hey everyone, Sky here to discuss X-Men: The Last Stand, starring Hugh Jackman, Halle Berry, Ian McKellen, Famke Janssen, Anna Paquin, Kelsey Grammer, Rebecca Romaine, no Stamos this time, and James Marsden, and directed by Brett Ratner. Now, I've seen Brett Ratner's work before in Rush Hour and Red Dragon and all those other films. So, how is he good for this? Well, let's talk about it. Charles Xavier, returned by Patrick Stewart, and Eric Lensher, returned by Ian McKellen, go to and visit a young Jean Grey, and the Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen CGI is kind of freaky looking as far as their faces go. And while I'm on that scene, we get a Stan Lee cameo with Charles and Eric testing Jean's powers. Then we move on to the Warren Worthington as a young boy who's terrified of and cutting his wings off, which was a little frightening and traumatizing for a kid watching another kid cutting his wings off, so it's pretty frightening for a PG-13 rating. Storm, returned by Halle Berry, with the substitute teacher Logan, returned by Hugh Jackman, trains Colossus. Rogue, returned by Anna Paquin. Iceman / Bobby, returned by Sean Ashmore, and Kitty Pryde, played by Ellen Page, trained for the apocalypse and are not ready for because Cyclops, returned by James Marsden, isn't ready to move on from Jean, returned by Famke Janssen's death. And I liked the training exercise, but the whole Cyclops story felt very weak. Hank McCoy, played by Kelsey Grammer, is the secretary of something, and I like him as this character, but the government shows him they captured Mystique, returned by Rebecca Romaine, and I like that Mystique is still badass for what she does. Hank tells Storm and Charles with Logan about a cure to heal mutation, and I love how Hank and Logan meets for the first time. It was hilarious. Eric / Magneto, on the older years, is furious with the idea and does some recruits with Pyro, and he gets 3 mutants, one with speed, one with spikes on his body, and one I'm not sure what her power is, so I'll call her Punk Girl for now. And these characters are pretty worthless. Jean is resurrected she kisses Cyclops and he's dead, with nobody whatsoever. But Jean's body is there, where is Cyclops' body? That was bothering me throughout the whole movie. All they find is his sunglasses, but no damn body. That makes no sense. Warren Worthington, as an adult, played by Ben Foster, almost gets the cure, but realizes he's proud of his wings. Jimmy, aka Leech, played by Cameron Bright, sees him, and this character is really complicated for me, and I'm talking about Leech, because when he touches people, their powers won't work on them, and I thought he's a curse in this movie. Eric and his new mutants get Mystique out of captivity, and meets James Mavericks, who robs banks, or as I like to call Multiple Guy, at the same time. Kane Marco, aka Juggernaut, played by Vinnie Jones, and suddenly Mystique gets the cure. That was a strange choice for this movie to make, because she's not the badass I know her and love her as anymore. Logan awakens Jean and unleashes the Phoenix. They don't call her the Dark Phoenix. That's what the new movie is going to do. But my biggest problem is that I'm not connecting with this character as the Dark Phoenix, and Logan is just okay this time, because he has only one arc, and that's loving Jean throughout the movie, and that's not what Wolverine is all about, in my opinion. Charles and Eric talk with Jean. Charles wants to help her, and as Eric wants her Phoenix powers, and Logan versus Juggernaut, and Storm versus the Punk lady, and the girlie with speed. As Jean blows up, Charles is rather too scary for small kids under the age of 13. Juggernaut is going to say something I love later in the film, but I'll talk about it when I get there. But he's not a very good character being portrayed by Vinnie Jones. Bobby goes ice skating with Kitty, and Rogue gets jealous of it, so she goes to a place to get the cure. And my problem with it was, when she gets it, she's not getting a better arc here, but her character dies. But yeah, her character dies down with this movie. Hank thinks about shutting down the school, but Storm says it's still going on. And Warren comes to the X-Men's house, which was a bit cliche, I'll say. Logan hears Jean's voice in his head, and he goes to bring her back to but Magneto refuses to give her up, and Logan finds out his plan to go to Alcatraz lab when they're holding Leech and plans on killing him in the lab. And how is Magneto going to Alcatraz? Well, he does what Charles always wanted to do, which is build bridges on the Golden Gate Bridge. And that was rather a scene I like, with the line that I also like Magneto says, which is, Charles always wanted to build bridges. Logan gets back to the school and tells Storm Magneto's plan and fights with the X-Men, with Storm, Hank, Iceman, Kitty, and Colossus. And they fight in Alcatraz, and Magneto sends Juggernaut to find and kill Leech, and he goes in, and Kitty goes after him. And that's when he says, and this is the best line in the whole movie, "Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!" That was the line from him I love and get a kick out of when he says it, because it's hilarious. Despite he said that in the comic books. I still found it hilarious. Kitty gets to Leech first, and Juggernaut catches up and knocks him out, which was pretty funny. Magneto sends, I guess, one's named Arclight? I guess that's the punk girl. And Arclight and the spiky guy. And I don't understand her power in general. And sends her and Spiky guy to go after the Dr. Worthington guy. And his son Warren saves his life, which was... I like Warren's power, and it did feel kind of fun with his angel wings. Some electrocutes Speed Girl... Storm electrocutes Speed Girl, and Magneto with Pyro makes me Metal Fire, and Iceman stops one and beats up Pyro with the cheesy one-liner, "You never should have left." Logan distracts Magneto, and Hank puts the cure in Magneto, and Logan tells Jean it's over until she burns a bit of the world, and Logan stops her with the power Jean has. It's honestly wasn't a fair fight, but what was it? Oh yes, she does get killed by Logan. The school reopens after the fight is over, and the movie ends with a question: did Magneto push the chess piece? Which did feel pretty weird, but after the credits scene felt very weird when Moira McTaggart discovers the body of her colleague, Charles Xavier. What a weird way to end the movie. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 5.3 out of 10. This has problems, and I talked about them, but there are good things, there were bad things, and there were weird things. And the characters died down for me, and the X-Men versus Dark Phoenix fight wasn't a fair fight, which will make me nervous about the new movie, but all that I've got till June to find out if it's a fair battle. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next week I will be back with X-Men Origins Wolverine. And until next time...